Ah, we're live. Hello, chat, and thank you, subject to change. Already got a super chat even before I started. It's great. These that are very entertaining. I don't even have to speak. People like me. Anyway, right. We're going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons in 50 minutes, so I will probably end the stream a little bit earlier. But in the meantime, I'm going to do my best in order to entertain you folks. It seems that YouTube didn't appreciate my last stream. It was on Islam. It didn't get a community guideline strike, but it did get demonetized, right? So should be more careful. I can't make fun of TikTokers which convert to Islam for questionable reasons. You can't make fun of that. Obviously, every single conversion is 100% legit, even if they consider themselves to be demi-queer and have nose piercings and tattoos. I mean, it's definitely a very halal lifestyle, I've been told by all of my Muslim friends. Uh, but my favorite take, though, from yesterday's stream, in case you missed it, is that Islam is feminist. And if that is the case, then Andrew Tate, which is a very devout Muslim, he must also be a devout feminist. Right? Because if Islam is feminist, then, well, he is a particular... look at it. Don't miss out on advice from a dedicated YouTube expert. Apply by November 27 for exclusive workshops and one-on-one time with a YouTube expert. Ugh. No, thank you. I do not... No. I am the expert. I've been doing this for more than 10 years. I'm an expert. One-on-one time with a YouTube expert. Oh, Dios mío. I know what they will say. They will say I need to make more shorts. I can't make shorts. Anyway, right. I want to show you something hilarious that I found online. It's been like, when did Black Friday started? You know, let me ask ChatGPT. I'm actually curious about this. It's one of these holidays, I guess, that's secular in nature, and even in Europe, people practice it. When did Black Friday start? So, ChatGPT claims that there is an error in moderation. I do not know what the fuck that is. I'll try asking it again. Holy shit. Nothing wants to work today, chat. Nothing wants to work today. Okay, so Black Friday originated in Philadelphia in 1950s. There used to be police to describe a heavy pedestrian and vehicular traffic after Thanksgiving. The term Black Friday gradually became more widespread in the 80s and was commonly used across the United States. Retailers started to embrace the day, turning it into a positive event by offering deep discounts and special promotions. This practice has since become a major sales event in many countries around the world, often extending over the weekend and throughout Cyber Monday. Alright, so I want to show you something from Black Friday, which I genuinely thought that most people know, but people are still shocked about this thing in 2023. So look at this. Look at this.
Oh.
Oh, Dios mío.
Okay, what about this one? Oh,
Oh, shocking.
it's the same.
Black Friday deal?
I don't get it.
That's a deal.
She doesn't get it.
Okay, this one? But it's the same.
Bro, that's not a deal.
I don't get it.
She
I'm
doesn't get it.
confused.
She's confused. Oh my god. Never seen a scam before, lady. Never realized that people can lie, did you? You know, companies are putting out dangerous, harmful, and misinformation. Ah, no, no, no. Isn't that literally illegal in Europe? Yes, it is. I don't know where that happens. Because I think she's speaking Amerikansky, so it's probably in the United States, but I don't know which state. There's not much information surrounding it. It's like no context. But it's kind of like this image right here. It's literally this, chat. This is Black Friday, right here. You know, it's this. There's not much to add. There's not much to take away. One picture speaks 1,000 words. And the thing with Black Friday is like this. Many people go shopping and they want to buy something. Like you want to buy a new pancake. And you end up going there and you buy 5 pancakes, 7 knives, a television set, and a toaster. And then you wonder where your money went, right? But the thing with the sales, though, it's not even like an event as it used to be. Like most people here in Romania, at least. I don't know how it's like in the United States, but most people here are kind of aware with what Black Friday is and what it does. So they're just going there, and you find out that there's not many people. It's not really that crowded. It's not really as it used to be. And I guess it's a little bit different than Christmas shopping. Like Christmas shopping is still very tight, but Black Friday is starting to become meh, at least here. Of course, the guys want them. Like guys want the shoes to give it to their lady. It's a Walmart. It's very likely in the United States. Yes, probably true. Let me see if I can find some interesting topics to talk about before D&D. By the way, the culture of tipping in the United States is something that I would call akin to mental retardation. I genuinely do not understand why Americans are putting up with it. But I keep going to various forums and places where you have like white liberal women. Horrible, I know. But they talk to each other, right? So I was interested in seeing like what white liberal women communicate about. And one of the things that they're concerned is tipping. It's like, if you don't tip, you shouldn't eat out. That is the mentality they have. And in a way, I agree, because if people wouldn't eat out, they would be out of a job, so there would be less nagging. Which is a net positive in the world. But, no, they want tips. And it's okay, like if you eat out, you pay for tips. I mean, the idea is if you can afford to eat out, you afford to tip. Most people shouldn't afford to eat out, right, in the progressive liberal society. But it's not just eating out, is it? If you order food, you have to pay a tip, and you have to pay your delivery driver a tip as well. So now we're tipping drivers. Okay, so you're tipping the driver, you're tipping the restaurant. But it's going even beyond that. The idea was like you give a tip for the service, right? But I have seen with my very own eyes in the United States places where you go in, and it's a self-service place. And they have a box for fucking tips, chat. They have a box for fucking tips. So it's literally like you're going to the counter. There's no waiter. Like, there's no one to bring you food. Right? You take the food and there is a box where you leave the... How the fuck does that work? And then there's actually... Hold on, because that's not it. It's even worse. There is now like a door-to-door delivery system where you get to... It's kind of like Uber Eats, but I think it's a rival company. And you get to tip them before they deliver the order. So basically, let's say you do it like that, and if you don't tip them, you get a warning, and it says that the quality of your food or the time for the delivery may be affected. So basically, you're ordering from a pizzeria in your neighborhood, right? And let's say that the pizza costs $20. This is how much it costs here. I don't know how much it costs there, but let's say it costs $20, right? And you're supposed to give a tip before the pizza arrives, right? And if you don't, you may not get the pizza sliced. You might get it cold. But here's the thing, right? Like you're supposed to tip for the service. So what if the service is shit and you don't want to tip? Like maybe the person did a bad job, or maybe the person brought the food cold, or maybe they're not bringing the food at all, right? But the way it works is so that the driver gets to see how much the tip is like, so they get to decide if they want to go there or not. I mean, it's becoming ridiculous, isn't it? I understand, like certain jobs where you can tip. Like, for example, I tip my artists that I work with. You can tip your animator. Like some jobs that require creativity. You're basically giving them a tip. It's like, oh, you went way and beyond what I asked. But like, when it's a job that doesn't require that much creativity. I mean, a driver is a fucking driver, right? Like, sure, you can bring your food on time. But at the end of the day, like, he is driving it according to traffic. Like he can't pull some Fast and Furious in order to give your food in 1 minute or something, right? Like, I don't even get it. Like, why would you even tip people anyway? Again, like, unless it's something like creativity related. You're asking someone to make you a statue. And they invest a lot more time. And the sculpture looks absolutely beautiful because they put a lot of soul and heart into it. And you're like, wow, I'm so moved. I'm so touched. I'll give you an extra. I don't know if Uber is taking a cut of tips and drivers shouldn't be paying taxes on that. That's also interesting. Yeah, no, like all of this is done out of greed. I'm generally curious to see if a right-winger or a left-winger passed the legislation that tips need to be taxed. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a right-winger, but I think this is where everything started coming from, right? Because at the end of the day, what you're getting is the company not paying their staff properly so that the customer pays them. Like, you're already paying the guy for the job, right? You're already paying your driver, you're already paying your waiter for what they're doing. But then they want you to pay even more so that they can pay minimum wage to their employees. And you are the one that's not only paying for the service, but you're also paying for the unpaid waitress. But yes, tipping literally is a social construct, and it is cultural. I 100% agree, which is why you shouldn't tip. If more people wouldn't tip, this shit would go away. Because then waiters would stop putting up with it. They would be like, no, you're going to pay me more than minimum wage because people don't tip. I am aware that tips are taxed. I don't think they should be. Unironically, I don't think... or if you're going to tax tips, you should tax them per every tip. Because usually what they do is like they tax a flat percentage. Which is not really correct. It's not... like getting taxed for money that you may not even make is not... But then again, when do they care about correctness? I want to show you something that's a little bit cringe, chat. In fact, I would say it's the cringest stuff that I have ever seen in my entire fucking life. How cringe do you think Doctor Who is? I want you to tell me. Like 1 is a little bit cringe, but 10 is like the most cringe. Like 10 is so cringe that there is nothing you can see in Doctor Who that can make you cringe anymore. Because there is a limit to human cringedom, right? Like that is after a certain level, you have reached peak cringe. And let's consider that level to be 10. Like, if you think what you've seen now from Doctor Who is 10, then that means that nothing that I can show you now can make you cringe any further. They haven't broken the barrier of cringe. So, someone said a 7. Wow, I mean, I see some cringe shit with Doctor Who, but I would say it's more than a 7, definitely. 12 out of 10. Okay, well, if you think 12 out of 10, how much do you think this scene is? Let me see if I can subvert your expectations. They definitely have been subverted for me, because I thought it's a 10 out of 10. But then I seen this scene, and this was so bad that it managed to get me to cringe even further. Like, to cringe at levels that I didn't initially think were humanly possible.
Yes, we know.
We know everything. Thanks.
And you know nothing. It's a shame you're not a woman anymore.
We know everything, and you know nothing. It's a shame you're not a woman anymore.
She'd have understood.
You've got all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male presenting Time Lord will never understand.
You have all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something that a man presenting Time Lord will never think about.
Just let it go.
And we choose to let it go.
You know, it used to be about equality, right? But then they took over shows that didn't need this like if you would do that to a race, they would call it cultural appropriation, wouldn't they? Right? Like if you were to have Blade, and Blade was a very successful TV show, or Spawn, and it's not only very successful, but it gets like millions of people. And then they would say, well, actually, you know, black shows are way too popular. Let's add the white guy instead. So they're changing the actor for no reason. And then you notice that the audience is dropping dramatically, right? And they would just then make an episode where the white guy would basically, well, this is what we know. It's something that a minority presenting Time Lord would never understand. Wouldn't that be a little bit oppressive? Offensive? Culturally appropriating? Now, like, literally all the harms and the ills that social justice warns us about. And like, the thing is, I don't even like Doctor Who, but this is peak cringe. It's not even offensive, like, it doesn't offend me. This is like what some lunatic who managed to escape from the asylum decided to write, thinking that the public would appreciate it. But the whole thing is like just humiliation, right? Like, you notice it's not done to humiliate Doctor Who, but it's done to humiliate all men. And it's with this smugness attitude, this condescending look, this, you know, we're so much better than you, you're so inferior, you know nothing, we know everything. And it's not because, like, they're smarter or anything. No, it's because they're women. Just that. Literally, just that. And I just... Do they not realize that they have viewers that are men? Like, do they not think that there is a limit that at one point the audience may think, what if the writer actually hates me? Not like, hates me a little, but what if, like, they genuinely despise me? For no other reason than the fact that I was born a man. Do they not consider this? Do they not think that... Do they not want the money of men? That's another question. Do they not want men to purchase the action figures? To purchase the... And you know, like another thing is the face on the actor. Like, he has no comeback. He has no wit. Like, any man in his situation would at least manage to say something to defend himself. Like, if you go on the street and you pick a random guy and you put him in this scene, he would have some retort. He would have some quip. He wouldn't just sit there and take it. From the mids. Yes, we are. Yeah, we are better, surrounded by men with guns. I know. Yeah, I mean, it is literally... The thing is, right, as a man, I say this again, it doesn't offend me. And I gotta say, the opposite of love isn't hate. It's ignorance. And I guess, like, I am successfully managed to ignore this show. Which is kind of sad because... I know that it's got good it used to have good lore and stuff. But I am ignoring the living shit out of this show. But every now and then, like, I have a subscriber that's sending me another clip from the thing. And I look at the clip and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Really? You know, like here's the thing. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a social justice activist and I don't have my own bigotries and my own prejudices, right? Everyone does. Like, to claim that there is such a thing as a human being that doesn't have any prejudices whatsoever is something that I refuse to believe. Like, that person doesn't exist, okay? Like, everyone has... Leftists, for example, they have prejudice towards MAGA supporters. But even then, like, you can have prejudices towards different people, but when you're placed in a position when you're writing, you shouldn't allow those prejudices to be visible. That you're using the characters like VTube avatars in order to spew your hatred towards the audience. So fucking bizarre, isn't it? David Tennant Doctor would be like, if I don't use the power I have, worlds die, people die, or something. He saw being a Time Lord as a duty to protect the innocent. Yeah, like that's the manly... I wouldn't say it like superhero, but it's the ideal that the men from my generation grew up with. It's, as a man, you need to harness a lot of power and then use that power to protect those weaker than you. Those are the 90s cartoons that I grew up with. Every single one, that's what it said. It's like, you need to be strong, you need to be powerful, and use that power in order to protect the weak. The new mentality is that being powerful is toxic, and you need to use your meek voice in order to amplify the activists. That's the morality that's in vogue now. Yeah, I do have like a bias that's unreasonable towards second monitors. I do agree. That's the thing that I have. And if I was to write something, I wouldn't write my prejudice and stigma towards people that have two monitors. To be honest, I do not know the context in which this scene takes place. Like, I don't know what power they're talking about, or, you know, like, what does it mean to stop being a Time Lord, or whatever. But it is painfully obvious that the writers, they literally hate men. Like, at this point, it's unquestionable. And it's interesting because when you have, like, Mario, and Mario goes to rescue the princess from a castle, Anita Sarkeesian would immediately say that the writing shows that the writers, the developers, they're sexist, right? And they just have like a small story. It's like, well, Mario is risking his life to rescue Peach from a castle. Oh, that's sexist, that's misogynistic, etc. But when you have a story where literally you have like two women that are insulting the doctor for being a man and saying that you don't know anything because you're a male presenting doctor, and they have like this face of condescension and disdain, how can you not say that, unironically, that the writers dislike their male audience? Severely, actually. It's interesting because, like, you want the guys to buy toys, right? Like, you want them to buy merchandise, right? It went from, let's make it so that nothing men wants is on TV, and men want two things. They want sex and violence, like, it's simple. So they remove the titillation, no more titillation whatsoever. They remove the violence, and they replace, like, superhero shows where they just fucking talk the entire episode. They just talk and talk and talk, and no action takes place. And now it's like, all right, well, we remove what men like. What else? Like, let's add things that humiliate men. So fucking bizarre. Lack of loving parents. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I genuinely do not understand why they do it. I mean, there are many things that you're allowed to hate. Like, for example, right now, if I start shit-talking Russians, well, actually not now, but now probably is different. But, like, after the initial conflict with Ukraine, you could shit-talk Russians as much as you wanted and get away with it on the internet. In fact, the left was doing it almost like on a daily basis. Like, they had no issue against it, right? Like, the things that I heard them say against Russians, horrible. I didn't do it, and I never will. Like, what? Why would that? What is the advantage? What do you gain? What do you, you know? And even then, it's like, even if it's like towards a target that you can get away with. Like for example, now if you talk bad things about men or white people, it's fine on the internet. But why would I? Like I don't get any of that. Even if I, for example, I could talk against minorities and stuff. It's just like something that I don't want to do. Like I don't choose not to talk about these things simply because I'm not allowed. It's like, no, I just don't feel the need. But there are other individuals out there, especially the ones that argue about sensitivity training and shit, and they are such hateful bigots, aren't they? The more a person lectures you about not being a bigoted individual, the more bigoted they seem to be. Play the pronoun clip? I do not know what the pronoun clip is. I dislike Russians because they espound communism. That's not a Russian. That's German. Karl Marx is German. One can argue that the origins of communism actually came from France. The whole chant liberté, égalité, fraternité is, I suppose, like the proto-nuclear era of all the other three ideologies. So liberté means liberty, right? So you get liberalism. Fraternité is fascism, brotherhood. And égalité is equality, communism, right? So like, it's kind of interesting because before that point, people believed in the rule of kings, divine rule, right? So like, God owns everything, like God created the earth, and God anointed the king to look over your nation. But there is a new way of thinking now. The king isn't actually like why should we be subjects? Why should we allow the king to rule over us? And instead, you need something else. Okay, so if we don't have the king ruling over us, like what do we get? So they try to create various ideologies at that point, which again, it was very difficult because they were an uncharted territory. And they came up with these three, and that's what I think like the roots of communism started taking place in. Russians are just Eastern Swedish Vikings, though. They like Russia is more diverse than the United States. I think like they have more languages in Russian than you have in the US. There's more ethnicities there as well. Not going to lie, I once thought that Karl Marx was a Russian. No, Karl Marx was Jewish. He actually wrote some really offensive things about other Jews. But I guess like the distinction to be made is that he was an atheistic Jew. And he didn't like the religious Jews, which is something that you can notice today as well. Like there's many Jewish people who are atheistic. They live in the media, right? They work in the media, sorry, or Hollywood, and they do not like their Orthodox counterparts. And it's usually because they grew up in religious families and they felt oppressed. Whatever. Like, this is a story as old as time itself. But like, Karl Marx was incredibly anti-Semitic. You're not going to see leftists bring that up. Some of the anti-Semitic letters that Karl Marx wrote are Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, like, if I were to read them here, I would get community guideline violation. I'm not even kidding. He was funded by, so he was in Germany, right? And then Lenin, which took the teachings of Karl Marx and Engels, was supported by the German government to travel to Russia in order to do agitation and propaganda. So the German government is the one that funded communism into Russia and also, I guess, the birthplace of modern communism. Read Marx. I'm not going to read Marx, but you can Google Karl Marx anti-Semitic letter, and you're going to find that I would like argue it's even worse than some of the phrases. Sorry, some of the sayings that you can find in Mein Kampf. Like, it's despicable. It's like, even if you go on poll where you have people that are already anti-Semitic and you show them Karl Marx's letter, they will say, wow, this is a little bit too much. I'm willing to bet, even if you were to go into Gaza and show Karl Marx's letter to members of Hamas, they might say, wow. Like, we understand, but not in polite circles. Yeah, it is worse than Paul. But like, that's the thing, most people do not actually read Karl Marx. Karl Marx had many right-wing takes. He was pro-guns. He was very pro-borders. He was pro-slavery. Oh, that's another thing. The left doesn't bring this up. They will say, well, this guy was pro-slavery. Karl Marx was pro-slavery. He basically states something that the colonial system is required in order to maintain the commodities of the first world. So something in those lines. I'm paraphrasing. But he literally justified slavery. Again, like, people do not read Karl Marx. Like, they only know about him from, it's kind of like a Christian knows the Bible, right? Like, they may know about it from other people, but they haven't actually read it themselves. But when you actually do read it, and you read more than Das Kapital, you actually start seeing what other letters he wrote, what other articles he had. It's muy problematica. Hello, bipedal species. I missed you. Welcome to the show. Pro-guns is right-wing in the United States. In the EU is both sides. No, in the EU, guns are mostly banned in most countries, especially in Eastern Europe. Where the modern Marxists come from? I mean, it's depends which branch of Marxism. But like, they all have their roots in Karl Marx. And from Karl Marx, you got like different separations and different ways of interpreting Marxism. Like, for example, post-colonial studies has its thinkers, and then you have like Herbert Marcuse and Antonio Gramsci. Like, it depends, right? Like, if you're talking about like third-wave feminism, if you're talking about queer theory, if you're talking about anti-colonialist studies, right? Like, they all have their thinkers. But you can basically trace their roots back to Karl Marx and Kropotkin. It goes even before Karl Marx. Karl Marx, the hero of workers, never had a job. No, that's true. But like, it doesn't really matter, I think, that much. Like, you don't really need to champion a cause while being part of that cause. Like, for example, you can advocate against crime without ever experiencing getting robbed or robbing someone. Not to mention, like, the thing with Karl Marx, like, some of his criticisms were in fact accurate. The problem is that you need to take into account he lived in a time where workers went to the factory for 6 days a week, working 11 to 12 hours a day, and having children also working in factories in very difficult conditions, like going under machinery that was still operating. If they broke an arm, there was no healthcare, right? So, you should judge Karl Marx through the prism of the society he grew up in. But at the same time, you should also understand that using his criticisms today doesn't really make sense, especially when today we don't really have capitalist countries. Like, I'm unaware of a single capitalist country existing around the world right now. Even the United States officially does not call itself a capitalist nation. They call themselves a mixed economy. Because in a capitalist nation, you don't have welfare. None whatsoever. There is no welfare in a capitalist nation. So, name me a country that doesn't have welfare and allows free trade. I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm not aware of any. Especially not in Europe, not in the US, not Canada, not Mexico. Somalia, I do not know if it's capitalist. I would have to look at its economic system. They probably don't have welfare, that's true, but maybe it's like a tribalist society rather than a capitalist one. I would have to check. I genuinely do not know if Somalia fits the definition. It's possibly it could. Capitalism is just a word that means not communism. Yeah, for a communist, yes, but like there's many other systems, and some of them are functional. Like for example, theocracies, right? So in the Middle East, you have monarchies that are theocratic in nature. That's not capitalism. China. China allows you to have private property, but at any point the government can take it over. That's not capitalism. Right? The United States has capitalism, but at any some people are above the rules. So you have the hedge funds and the banks, and they get bailed out. That's not capitalism. I don't think you have capitalism anywhere around the world. And the thing is, like, I'm not saying the no true capitalism definition. You know, like people do with like no real communism or whatever. It's just that, like, realistically speaking, no country identifies itself as a capitalist nation. It's not private in China, it's rented from my government. I see. The government can eminent domain your land at any time in the US. Yeah, it can. That's another thing that's not part of capitalism. Although, you know, like having some safeguards, like for example, the government being able to eminent domain something, but it doesn't abuse it. Like it almost never uses it. I would say that can still be a capitalist nation. I'm not going to be a purist and say, well, it has to be like 100% pure. No, but like, you know, the times during the Wild West, I think those were capitalistic. No, because real capitalism has been tried. Like during the Wild West, that was capitalism. You have your farm and you have your animals, and the government doesn't even... Like, if you're somewhere next to the frontier, from your perspective, the government may as well not exist. You're completely on your own. And it's not just you, it's you and the community. Right? So, capitalism has been tried. It did exist. Real capitalism has been tried and it worked. Until regulation became a thing. Yes. Absolutely. I do agree with that. It's a correct statement. I need to get ready for Dungeons and Dragons. So, thank you so much for the super chat. Again. Let me see if I missed one. Subject to change. Thank you for the $5. Unfortunately, I can't stay a little bit more. I would have loved to, but I need to get ready for Dungeons and Dragons. So, I'll see you guys there. Take care.